This is Let's Get Retro. I want to look at every Gauntlet port out there, from the good to the really, really not so good. Anyway, let's watch. Welcome indeed. We are looking at the MSX. It's a fantastic port. I don't get to do very many MSX ports, but I definitely wanted to have a look at Gauntlet. Let's lower the music down. You get to hear the cool loading music. Fantastic. So, it's similar to the Spectrum version, but it's really, really good. There's enough differences between the two that, you know, it could justify doing the review. But they may share an awful lot of code. Now, a couple of things. There is a hacked version that's been done that basically lets you use keyboard instead of joystick for controls. And then there's another version that's literally come out in the last couple of months to play it as an MSX2 game, and it's everything's coloured in. It looks a hell of a lot better. Now, unfortunately, that's not publicly available. It's just someone's coded that themselves, but they're it's being distributed amongst themselves, so can't review that, I'm afraid. But I'm having a look at this now. The game is really, really good. A lot of what I said about the Spectrum applies. Sound is excellent. Graphics are very good. Now, there's still a bit, you know, there's obviously, you know, not as much colour as you'd have in some of the other ports, but it's really, really good. Kind of taking my time here just to try and take these guys down without using much energy or health even. So I'm trying to think of things to say about Gauntlet while I'm playing this now. Oh yeah, the machines, the Gauntlet in Europe anyway. The Gauntlet cabs are actually made in Ireland, in Tipperary. I ended up talking very briefly with the guy who, and I can't think of his bloody name, who was the head of Atari Games Europe, which were then Namco, and then Atari, and then Midway, and then, yeah. But I was on Irish radio a couple of years ago. Long story, it was actually the anniversary of Space Invaders, and talking about arcade machines and that. It's a long story how I ended up on the radio talking about it. But the chap, it wasn't Shane Breaks. I don't think it was. It was. I'm trying to think who it was, but it was he'd been the head of Atari Games at the time, and when I was talking about Gauntlet, I was saying, you know, good a game was, and he was kind of saying, well, from their point of view, it was fantastic because it made them a ton of money. And then they brought out the two-player cab about a year later, and that made them even more money. And then I think they had upgrade kits for Gauntlet 2, and he was ringing from his yacht, which was probably made of solid gold. But yeah, nice guy. I really wish I could remember exactly who it was. But yeah, anyway, that's typical kind of me, you know. I'm doing a Space Invaders piece, managed to get around to Gauntlet. Some random sound effects there in the background. So yeah, this is probably my favourite conversion so far. Well, it's up there. The Spectrum is very good. I mean, I wouldn't have seen an MSX or an MSX2 in the wild. They didn't really crop up as much in Europe. I think I might have actually seen one once. Years ago when I was at a computer shop with my dad in the the early 80s, because I do remember seeing one with that kind of weird, the keyboard with kind of number keys on it. Well, some of them did, I think. I could be completely wrong though, could be just imagining it. But yeah, it's a lovely port. It's just, if you're emulating this in the wild, Blue MSX is the emulator I used. You've got to set it to, you'll have to get it. There's various profiles you can do because there's various different types of MSX. There's loads of different computers that basically ran as MSXs, and the one I used was an MSX2 Brazilian port. And you gotta hunt around for a DSK image that'll actually work. I for the life of me, I can't remember where I got this one from. Of course, I should be burning it and destroying the machine afterwards because the ROMs are naughty and nobody likes them, and you should always own the original machines and discs if you can. Yeah, the other thing is holding down control on blue MSX forces it to load up with just one disc enabled, and sometimes that can help get things loaded. So I can tell you this now because I had to spend about a day getting it working. And I found one guy on a forum who went, oh, having problems getting this to work, and then later on he posted going, oh, I've got it working with a Brazilian profile, but then no other information other than that. So there you go. Oh, but damn, didn't mean to trigger that potion. This is a hard. This one kind of crops up a bit, and you've got lots of big rooms which are a nightmare because you've very little choke points to work with, and you do want those little corridors so you can just take your time, pick them off instead of getting swamped. Because there's only so long you can stand at the door here and fling the axes at them before the generators spew out more of them at you. I do see the oddest things in these videos. And get some lovely grub, lovely homebrew down there. Let's kill these off first. So after this, I'm going to try and cover the MS-DOS version. I'm going to try and cover the Master System version. I don't think there's any other 8-bits. I'm going to do if I do the Game Boy, it'll be separately. Then we're going to be looking at the 16-bits. There's the Game Boy Advance port that has RAM parts included with it. And then I'm going to go back to Gauntlet 2 and do it all over again. And then we're looking at the various Gauntlet 3s and the interesting stuff about them. And then we're looking at the Gauntlet Legends, then Gauntlet Art Legacy, and then I'll have to look at Seven Sorrows, Sorrow is a very important part of the name because it's not great. There you go, spoiler alert right there, it's rubbish. But we'll talk about that, God knows, whenever I can get the review done. Oh, one of them's chewing me there from the side. Better get him. I don't know if I'm going to make it through now. It's these open levels are horrible. And it's always hard not to try. You try not to hit the food, so you can't keep flinging axes left, right, and centre. Ah, bugger! Itchy trigger finger. Can I make it to the food? Okay. I'm actually using the potions for a change, but unfortunately him being Mr. Thor here being a bit of a thicky, his magic is rubbish. So you can just barely nibble at a couple of the bad guys, graze them slightly, and the generators spew the loads back out. By the way, that's just sorry. I really should have taken that back out. I had some samples running randomly in the background. It doesn't actually have speech, unfortunately. I don't think any of the ports I've looked at so far about speech. The Apple one might, unless the Apple one did, but like I said, I had so many emulation problems with the sound on that it was just bizarre. Can I make it? Can I make it? Probably not. No. Went out fighting. I said the exit was just around the corner as well. Anyway, that's been the MSX. Excellent port. MS Excellent. Stick my name in there before I go. It, like I said, shares a lot of similarities with the Spectrum version. So if you're living somewhere where there's no MSXs, say look for the Specky, and then get some sort of really good joystick interface so you can actually play with controls. Anyway, that's for the MSX version. Thanks for watching, guys. Next up, probably the Master System. Hopefully, maybe. See you next time.